What's up, guys? Sumner Healey from landinvestor.co coming at you with a very exciting Q&A coming directly from our Discord. If you don't already know, it's landinvestor.co/Discord. It's free to join. Anyways, I'm repping my family's restaurant in Nepenthe in Big Sur, California, where I was born and raised. If you guys haven't been, I highly recommend one of the best restaurants in the world, both in terms of food and ambiance. It's an amazing spot. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. Nepenthe, Big Sur, California. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyways, in this video, we are answering the age-old acquisition question coming from David inside of our Discord. And the question is, I am questioning myself if I need a warm lead and hot lead stage inside the CRM. What's your process in case you have both stages? What are the assigned tasks? Okay, this is really a two-part question. Now, David, it's a fair question. I think it's a question that you're probably not alone in thinking. What I've seen is pretty much every single business inside their CRM, you'll see a warm and a hot lead stage. Now, why is that? Well, when we look at, call it 100, whatever, customers, buyers, sellers, whatever we're going to quantify and label them. In this case, we're talking about sellers, really. If we look at that, the kind of the industry classic stat is maybe 3% of those people are now sellers or now customers, right? So there's very few people in that cohort that are just going to be hot leads. Now, probably 90% of them are just bad fits. Right? In the land business, that means property's not a good fit. We're just way off on price. We're way off on timelines, like just not a great fit. Typically what we see is we convert about 10% of our new inbound leads to deals, usually in the first quarter, right? So if I send 10,000 letters, I get 50 leads. I should get about 5 contracts from that, typically in 90 days. Frankly, I don't even know what the exact math is, but most of our mailers take some time to season. Okay, so this math actually all kind of backs into itself pretty evenly. Now I'm using broad numbers here, so don't hold me to this perfect standard. These are just generalizations. Okay, so 90% really aren't a good fit. 3% are like, hell yeah, let's rock and roll. I'm ready to go. And that 7% are a good fit. Right property, they do want to sell. I think we agree on price. I think we agree on timeline, but they're not right now sellers. So you'd be out of your mind, in my opinion, to assign those as a hot lead, because they're certainly not a hot lead. They don't fall into that 3%. And you definitely would be smoking some crack. I hope that's appropriate. I'm not talking about you, David. I'm just saying in general, if you put that 7% of those leads in the standard lead bucket, right? They're definitely more qualified than your standard lead, but they're definitely not a hot lead. So the way I look at it is you need to look at your kind of customer journey in land for sellers. And you need to have stages at each stop along the way. And that way you can actually take control of the situation and be proactive and try to move them into new buckets. Boom, 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 boom. So someone that's in a warm lead stage probably needs totally different follow-ups and conversations than someone that's in the hot lead stage, right? The way I might think about it is a hot lead is someone that is, based off of our conversations, are looking to sell in the next 30 days. Now, do we have a crystal ball and know perfectly? No. But I would say based off of what I'm hearing from them, the fact that we've sent the contract and we agree on price and we agree on terms, I think the next 30 days, this deal is going to drop. Now, a warm lead might be, hey, good property, good fit, we've got good rapport, but the seller is telling you, you know what? I gotta check in with the family. You know what? The holidays are coming up. I'm just gonna wait. I'll call you back after. But you know they're not bluffing. Like it's not an objection. You actually feel there's some real genuine roadblocks to getting the deal done right now. But it's not them just kind of throwing up the X and saying objection, objection, stop, stop, stop. Cool. So then we put them in the warm lead bucket, and what our job is now to move them along that customer journey and get them into the hot lead bucket. Okay. So from a really simple perspective, simple. Again, David, I'm not telling you to set up your stages like this, or anyone here in this video set up your stages like this, but here's how I might think about it, okay? Let's say on the acquisition front, everyone that comes into the business is initially a lead, okay? Everyone gets labeled that. I don't care what source you come from. I don't care if you got a good property, a bad property. Everyone comes in, they start the same, okay? This is a quality. Everyone's a lead. Now, a very small fraction of those leads will actually respond to you, right? A very small fraction will pick up the phone, will text you back, will call you back, will email you back. And so maybe we create a second bucket and we call that, I don't know, qualified. And that just says, hey, this person's at least responded to our messaging, to our texts, our emails, our phone calls. So they're better than a lead, but we still don't know if they actually are ready to sell. And we don't know if we want to buy that property just yet. So we'll move that into the qualified bucket, okay? And then that next bucket might be your warm lead stage. And now that's saying, hey, we're having dialogue about selling. We've roughly agreed on price. We do know that they want to sell. We've figured out the reason that they're trying to sell. We just can't get it to match up in the here and now. Right? Most of the leads that we deal with, like where our time gets spent in this business is actually on the warm leads. Okay. That's really where the money's at for us. Because you'll get these leads that come in that are just like, I'm ready to sell now. Okay, we didn't really have to do much. All we had to do was market and get in front of them, and they do all the heavy lifting for us. So real money in this business comes from working those warm leads, and that's why it's so important that we put these people into the appropriate buckets. So when we look at how our team spends most of their time, it's this, like, I would call it communication by 1,000 touches with these warm leads. We just keep on showing up and up and up and up and up and up because they've qualified themselves, right? They picked up the phone, they've engaged with us, and we know they do want to sell. Now we're just trying to get it to all of the start to align. I always talk about this inside LIA, but most land investors outside of LIA, they play that 3% game in the land business. And what that means is they send out mail and they take the lowest hanging fruit, because we can still do that in this business. It's so unsaturated, despite what other people will tell you, that you could go drop 10,000 mailers and pretty easily get 2 to 3 deals and make more than you spent on marketing just from those now sellers that come in. But what we do inside LIA and what we teach that's a little bit different is how to actually go and extract the most value out of these leads that we're getting from our marketing. And again, that really comes from honing in on these warm leads. Okay. And then the next stage is obviously going to be hot leads or something along those lines. That just says, hey, we sent a contract, or they said they're ready to sell now. And so we assume the next 30 days they're going to sell. Just because we send a contract or someone says they're ready to sell doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow. It still does take some time. But the way we follow up with those people is going to be pretty minor, honestly. Like, we're just going to kind of give them subtle nudges. We look at it in terms of talk time with those leads. It's going to be a lot less than on the warm leads front, because that's really where we're needed the most to move the needle and pass them into the hot lead stage. And then I'm sure you can have a bucket for, unqualified properties or bad properties or dead properties, just things that you don't want to touch. And it's up to you to decide when you want to take that out. Maybe you take that out at the very front end. Now, what's so important about this, in my opinion, well, a lot of things, but one of the things that I think is most important is, as you build a team, this informs your team how to spend their time. Because the magic is, as an acquisition manager, or if you're being your own acquisition manager, the magic in this business, how you make the big bucks, frankly, is not by being the most polished, smoothest person on the phone. Sure, that helps, but I think what really moves the needle is if you're an acquisition manager, or you can come into the business every day and say, yo, I've got 1,000 leads. Where's the money at? Who's got my money? Well, maybe it's only like 10 of those leads that you should be really spending all of your time on. Those people have got your money. So you need to figure out how to actually decipher out of all these buckets of lead, where's the magic at? And that's why we categorize them. So when they come in, their day might look like, hey, first I hit the newest leads. Then I go check in with the hot leads just to make sure that we're all good, right? We kind of give them a little nudge. And then I spend the bulk of my day working those warm leads, because that's where, again, where I'm needed the most. We look at it between hours in the day, you're gonna spend a lot more time there than you are talking to hot leads. Hot leads have already decided to sell. All you got to do is keep them showing up. That's it. Super easy. And then as new leads comes in throughout the day, you'll go and jump on those and kind of pause what you're doing on the other end. So it allows your team to have clarity on how to spend their time, which means the business makes more money and they make more money. So one of the things that we really focus on with our acquisition team is how for them to sniff out that money, how to become like a hound dog and look at a CRM and say, this is where the magic's at, and spend their time there. Okay? If you just go through your CRM and you have an acquisition manager blindly calling every lead in your CRM with no kind of categorization, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time, you're losing money. Frankly, there's just a huge opportunity cost to being unorganized. All right, guys, I hope that makes sense. I guess one other thing that we could add on, he says, what are the assigned tasks? I think we got to be really, really careful with assigned tasks. Assigned tasks make a lot of sense in the beginning when a new lead comes in, because that process is pretty binary, okay? New lead comes in, we're obviously going to go and do our due diligence. We're obviously going to call them. We're obviously going to text. Like, we're going to do all the basics. Again, I don't care who you are. You come into my CRM, same thing's going to happen to you. But the people that want this perfect crystal clarity of do this at every stage of the way are going to lose sight of the context of the situation with the seller. Okay. So that means when you're in the warm lead stage, you've got to be listening to figure out what's going on in that specific situation and create next steps around that. Do not fall into the trap of creating binary tasks for every step of this business. This business is both an art and a science, IQ and EQ. This is where the EQ comes in, okay? I'm hearing the seller tell me X, Y, and Z. And so when I get off this call, I'm setting next steps based off that context. I always tell my team, we never get off a call without next steps. Even if the next step is, hey, I'm going to call you in 3 years. There's always next steps. But you've got to be listening to actually know what that next task is. And these are the soft skills that we want to find for our acquisition teams. It's not about getting the person that knows everything about land off the bat. I can train that. What I can't train are the soft skills, the EQ. So that's what we really look for. And same thing, if you're on the phone, that's what I need you to look for. Right? If you're being your own acquisition manager, do not think that you can just automate the full checklist of this business from A to Z. It doesn't work like that. This is a people's business, right? In the beginning, task, 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 task. Once you get into that warm lead stage, it's all context. All right, guys, hope that helps. Much love, everyone. Subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, whatever you want to do. See you guys in the next video.